Bismillah.
Bismillah. Tonight is 20th of Jumadil Ula 1439. We are starting chapter 54 of Kitaab At-Tawheed, explained by Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah. Chapter 54, title, Do Not Say My Slave and My Ama. It occurs in the Sahih on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu that Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, No one among you should say, feed your Lord or pour water for your Lord during his ablution. He should rather say, my master and my guardian. And no one among you should say, my slave and my amat. And he should rather say, my lad and my lass and my boy.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وعلى من تبع هداهم إلى يوم الدين. The chapter 54, the author says the chapter not to say. So already the rule is not to say. So it is not allowed according to what the author he believes. That is not to say abdi wa amati. That means the person who owns a slave, he should not say abdi, my slave, amati, my female slave. So amati means female slave. Abdi means male slave, and amati means female slave. And the link of this chapter to the title, which is Kitaab At-Tawheed, the link of this chapter to the book, is actually to make sure that we do not mix these words with the words that we say to our Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's actually, there's a link between between these words and the rububiyyah of the Almighty Azza wa Jal. And that is the link. And the scholars had two opinions regarding this issue. That is, one say it is allowed, it's not allowed totally, and one say it is disliked. That means prohibition, or it is disliked. Now, coming to the hadith, which says, that is in Sahih, and here we said that there is no principle for the author, does he mean Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, or both of them. But the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, he said, لا يقل أحدكم, one of you should not say, أطعم ربك, that is, feed your Lord, وضئ ربك, make wudu to your Lord. Either this is a third party saying to the slave, feed your Lord, feed your, or make ablution for your Lord, or the person who is the master is saying to his slave, come on, wash or make wudu for your Lord, which is myself, and give food to your Lord, which is myself. Do you understand that? So the master is saying to his slave, feed your Lord, which is myself. What are you doing? Feed your Lord. Make wudu to your Lord, which is myself. So both are meant for this hadith. And the saying of this is that the person, when he says it, he is like saying basically two things. Number one, that you are actually giving a hint, which is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the Lord, you are being yourself a Lord to that person. Because the Lord is the one who gives the food. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gives the water. So you're actually sharing His name in His Lordship. And the other issue is the humiliation. The humiliation that is taken place to the slave. So where does this lack comes from the scholars when they say it's not prohibited? They said that this is when we say that give your Lord, feed your Lord, make ablution to your Lord, give water to your Lord, that's myself, I'm saying, or somebody else saying that. It is actually from the alfaz, from the words which are not compatible and they're not good, and it's in etiquette. That's why it's disliked. For the person, it doesn't mean that he is Allah for that person, he is the real Lord of that person. And that's where the scholars, when they said it is disliked. For verily, our Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, which is not this explanation I've given you, had given more details to where the prohibition goes and when it is not prohibited. So he starts with saying that when you say Ar-Rabb, Rabbak, At'im Rabbak, is attributed to other than Allah, attributed to other than Allah, to a person, for example, Rabb, then it has the following categories. Category number one, which is the hadith category, that is, you say to the person who is you talking to him, feed your Lord. And that is prohibited or disliked according to what we have explained to you, because it contains two things. That is, first of all, it may indicate you are sharing with the Lordship of Allah the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though that you don't mean it, but this is from the etiquette in using the words. And the second issue is that you are making the slave to feel humiliated. The second category, so that's the first category, is that the attributing of the Rabb to somebody who is not there, an absent, and this is no problem. For the Prophet ﷺ, he said in the hadith regarding the signs of the day of resurrection, that from the signs, and تَلِدَ الْأَمَةُ رَبَّهَا or رَبَّتَهَا, that the woman, she would give birth to Rabbaha. Rabbaha means her Rabb, her Lord. Her Lord here, her master. So the mother, she will give birth to somebody who is going to be slaverizing her, if you understand. She's going to become, the mother becomes a slave, and the son or the daughter becomes what? Master. And that is a different interpretation for this meaning of this. Either it is going to be lots of conquests of the land. So we'll find, for example, a booty woman, she gives birth to somebody who's going to be later on free man, and he will be her what? Her master. That's another interpretation of this. Or it could be that another interpretation, lots of undutifulness, uquq. So the mother will give birth to somebody who will start yell at her, shout at her, and use her as a slave. That's two meanings for this. So it's going to be used as too many conquests in the land, and that's why we'll have lots of booty. So that when we capture women, she becomes a slave, and she gives birth to her master, the free, who becomes a free man, and he's going to be a master. So this, we have no problem to say this. And we have as well the hadith of the luqata. Luqata, where the Prophet ﷺ, he had said, if you find gold or silver in something, then make sure that you remember the bag of it, you remember how it is. So obviously pounds, what notes are they, 5 pounds or 10 pounds? Or if it's gold, then you will know that how does it look like, what bag it was in, and then you keep it until the person who comes who asks for it. But if you find a dalla means the camel which is lost. There's no such thing called camel lost. For camel, it's got its water with it, its food with it. So what's wrong with you? Where are you taking it? So you leave it there because the Lord of it, it says, the Lord of it will come. So you leave it until the Lord of it come and find it. So you have no such thing that I found a lost camel. Camels are always like wandering the desert. So they have their food and they have everything. So there's no such thing, camel, which is lost. So this hadith mentions حَتَّى يَجِدَهَا رَبُّهَا, until Rabbuha means her Lord. That means her owner. So if you're attributing the Rabb to other than Allah in the form of somebody who is absent, no problem about that. The third category is that the person himself talks about the person who is his Lord, his master. So he says, this is my Lord. He is my Lord. هذا ربي. Is that permissible or not? For verily, Shaykh ibn Uthaymin rahimahullah, he says, and he's inclined to say that it is permissible. But actually it is not. It is permissible because he mentions Yusuf alayhi salam in the surah when he says, إِنَّهُ رَبِّي أَحْسَنَ مَثْوَيْ. That is when he talked about when the wife of Al-Aziz, she tried to seduce him and he said, no way. مَعَذَ اللَّهِ. I seek refuge in Allah, how can I do that? إِنَّهُ رَبِّي. For verily he is my Lord. He looked after me. Here is my Lord, it's two interpretation. Interpretation which is the one that most of the Mufassirun they say, which is that he's his master, that means the husband of the wife who had called him to seduce him. So that is where the scholars have said, he said, Innahu Rabbi, so no problem to say, Rabbi, my Lord, my master. And the other tafsir, which is that my Rabbi, that is my Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who looked after me. How can I betray him by doing fornication? If it is the second, then there is no problem. But if it's the first, just here the word Rabbi has been used. But actually, we have taught you a number of times that the principles or the Sharia of the ones before us is not our Sharia. For verily, if it's going to be our Sharia, if it's coincide with our Sharia, it's our Sharia. So we don't say شرع من قبلنا شرع لنا ما لم يخالف شرعنا. No, we say شرع من قبلنا ليس شرعا لنا. شرع من قبلنا, whatever is before us is not for us. Because before it was, for example, it is permissible for the person to prostrate to another person. At the time of Yusuf alayhi salam, they prostrated. The father and the mother and all the sons, all of them prostrated to Yusuf alayhi salam. So that prostration was for respect. Well, not anymore. Prophet Allah prohibited that. So the hadith also, which is clear in this matter, which is in Sunan Abi Dawud, number in 4975, that he said, وَلَا يَقُولَنَّ الْمَمْلُوكِ رَبِّي, and the person should not say Rabbi. And that's clear cut in the Prophet. وَلَا يَقُولَنَّ الْمَمْلُوكُ رَبِّي وَرَبَّتِي, but let him say Sayyidi وَسَيِّدَتي. فَإِنَّكُمْ الْمَمْلُوكُونَ, for verily you are the ones who are mamluk. Mamluk, slave, you are owned. You are owned. You're not the master, you are owned. وَالرَّبُّ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ, and the Lord, Rabb, is Allah. So don't say Rabbi. So again, the third category, to attribute this Allah to the person when he says it, Rabbi, is not permissible. The fourth category is to attribute the Rabb to a clear name, like for example, Rabbul Ghulam. And this is correct, because mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ regarding the boy who was in the story of the Ukhdud, the trench, where the person who was being taught by the sorcerer, and then he met somebody who was monotheistic. And the story is a long one, which is the Ghulam al-Sahir, the boy of the magician. And at the end of it, he tried to kill that person because he was calling to the sake of Allah. The king, he tried to kill him, but he couldn't. He said, if you want to kill me, then line up the people, all of them, and put an arrow and say, Bismillahi Rabbil Ghulam, in the name of Allah, the Lord of the boy. So Rabbil Ghulam, you might say to me, well, this is the people before us, how can we use that? We are saying that because there isn't in our Sharia to contradict such a thing, then there will be no problem. Hadithu an Bani Israel wa la haraj. If it's something there is no in our Sharia to contradict it, then it is permissible. So Rabbul Ghulam, being Sayyidul Ghulam, is no problem, inshallah, unless the person that you're talking to is a newcomer to Islam, who's a revert, if he listens to this and he says, oh, you think that he's Allah of that person? Then you shouldn't use that word. Always any word, not just this word. Any word that have double meaning or more than one meaning, and you think the bad meaning is going to come out and emerge from such usage of such sentence, don't use that sentence. Because the Prophet said, talk to the people according to their mentality. أَتُرِيدُونَ أَن يُكْفَرَ بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Do you want Allah and His Messenger to be belied, to be made, liars? So talk to the people according to their mentality. If you give them more or above what they are, then they will not understand. These two men came to the Prophet ﷺ, they had their beard shaved and their mustache were long, and the Prophet said, who commanded you to do that? He said, our Rabb, our Lord. And here, it could be two meanings. Our Lord, that means the real Lord who created them, or our Lord, our Master. The Prophet ﷺ did not elaborate on that. He said, well, as for my Lord commanded me to let go of my beard and trim the mustache, which is the opposite. Right, so now coming to the continuation of the hadith, it says here, قال ولا يقل أحدكم عبدي وأمتي وليقل فتاي وفتاتي وغلام. Before I go to this, there is a narration in Sahih Imam Muslim. Then let him not to say, this person, to his master, وَلَا يَقُلْ. As well, it says there, مَوْلَاي, in Sahih Imam Muslim. قال وَلَا يَقُلْ الْعَبْدُ لِسَيِّدِهِ. The slave not to say to his master, it's not evil. لَا يَقُلْ الْعَبْدُ لِسَيِّدِهِ, that is, مَوْلَاي, my master. For verily, مولاي ما إن مولاكم هو الله عز وجل. For verily the Mawla is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is shadda, according to Shaykh Al-Albani, and he narrates it in Silsila Sahiha 803, where he says that this addition is shadda, even though it's authentic in its chain of narrators, but it contradicts the authentic narrations which are more authentic, like this one, because it says here, let the person to say Sayyidi wa Mawlai. Let him say what? Sayyidi ma Mawlai. And Mawlai is less in power than Sayyidi. Sayyidi means my master. Mawlai means also the one who is in charge of my affairs. That's the best word to translate it. Mawlai, the one who is in charge of my affairs. Mawlai. So here this hadith in Sahih Muslim, they don't say Mawlai. And that is why we see some people that say, for example, when they speak to their kings, they say Mawlai. Oh, look at these people, our governments come, they call him Mawlai. No, it's halal because you have no knowledge. That's why. You didn't know that Mawlai is here in this hadith, which is authentic, it's a Sahih al-Bukhari. Let him say Mawlai. As for the Sahih Muslim, we say don't say Mawlai, that is not authentic. So if you knew that knowledge, you will not start talking about those scholars who call their sheikhs, for example. I'm talking about the ones in Saudi Arabia. Mawlai. Mawlai means the one who's in charge of my affairs. And even Mawlai is less powerful than Sayyid. And if the Prophet allowed for us to say Sayyidi, my master, is allowed to say that, but he did not say to you to say Rabbi. Don't say Rabbi. Say what? Sayyidi. If you have heard somebody say to his master Rabbi, my body will shiver. My body will shiver. Rabbi means what? My God. But Sayyidi. So you could say Sayyidi wa Mawlai, no problem about that. Because the hadith says, وَلْيَقُلْ Sayyidi wa Mawlai. So you could both, the words to be used as well. So to give the title Mawla is less than giving the title of Sayyid, and both are to be no problem to use them for your master. And here, your master doesn't mean you're a slave. He could be your boss. He could be your king. You speak to him in a proper way. You don't say, for example, if it's kunya, Abu Muhammad, I can't say Abu Muhammad. He's a king there. So you say Mawlai, Sayyid, to know to talk to these people. It is from the etiquettes. Say, yeah, Sayyidi Mawlai, you're one who's in charge of my affairs. The one we are giving you the pledge. So, Prophet ﷺ, he said, when he was said, you are the Sayyid. You are the Sayyid. He said, As-Sayyidu fi sama. The Sayyid fi sama. So, how can we arbitrate this? Another hadith where it says, Prophet ﷺ, he said, Ana Sayyidu waladi Adam. I'm the Sayyid of the son of Adam. How can we arbitrate between this? We say that the person who came to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, you are the Sayyid. He understood from him a hint that he's making him like what? Equal to God. That's why he said, no. The Sayyid in the Sama. He didn't say, don't say Sayyid, I'm Sayyid. But remember, the Sayyid is what? In the Sama. He didn't say to him, don't say Sayyid. But say that the Sayyid is in the heaven. For verily, the hadith that I mentioned, in Sunan Abi Dawud said, لا يقولن المملوك ربي وربتي. The person who's been slave or somebody who's under the somebody, don't say to a person, Rabbi or Rabbati, but let him say, Sayyidi and wa Sayyidati. Your master could be what? A lady. And from this, we need to talk as well about another issue, which our Shaykh al-Uthaymeen talked about. He said that some of the people, they say, a Sayyida. And the Shaykh al-Uthaymeen may be talking about those people who are trying to make the Sayyida, the lady, equal to the man. But would have liked if you had added, but no problem to use Sayyida for those who are Sayyidat. We could say As-Sayyida Aisha, radiyallahu anha. Because Fatima, she's a Sayyida. Sayyidatu Nisa'i al-Mu'mineen. Sayyidatu Nisa'i Hadi al-Ummah. The hadith of the Prophet sallallahu. O Fatima, you are the Sayyida of the women of the believers. And this hadith also says, وَلْيَقُلْ سَيِّدِي وَسَيِّدَتِي. Let him say, my Sayyid and my Sayyidati. But those, I wouldn't call it liberated minded, they are called slave minded. This is the word I lost it yesterday. You remember? Was it yesterday when I lost that word? I don't know, I lost the word. This is one of the words that I want to make the person to make sure that you understand that it's wrongly used. Like you remember shaving, we said shaving, not clean shaven. Brainwash, what do you mean brainwash? You polluted brains, not washed, because wash is being clean. And the third one, we said conquest, you remember? Conquer. Yes? The repossession, we said conquer. And this one, which one? I just now said it. The last one. You're going to use it again. Well, what did I say? Slave liberated. They said, the person who is, they say that you are his liberal. I don't call them liberal, I call them slaves. We are the liberals. Do you understand that? Think about it properly. We are the one who liberated our mind. They are not liberals, they are slaves to their whims and desires. Another word added. Do you understand? Liberal means they are saying that you are not liberal, you're a slave to No, we are the liberals. We've got freedom of thought. You are a slave to your whims and desires. I am the one who's liberated. I think, why do you think that in that channel? No. So that's another word that's been misused. I find these words sometimes and I think about them and they don't really give them. As well, add please to the words that we have mentioned, I mentioned before. Fifth word, which is the riba, they call it usury. It's not right, actually. Usury in the dictionary says, take lots of interest. So small interest, no problem. Do you understand me? The dictionary usury means what? Big interest. So no problem, small interest, halal. That's not a word as well to be used. We've been falling into that trap. Fine. Coming back. Let them, so these people, whether we're talking about maybe the ones who are أيها السادة والسيدات, and they start even with the ladies. They say ladies, because they're English, they say ladies and what? Gentlemen. They started with what? And they're trying to say that we are liberated here. Huh? We're making the ladies first. No, you're not liberated. You are a slave and stranded to your own whims and desire, to what you think is correct. Before you were saying this, you were making the women are nothing. Nothing. And you still treating the women nothing. But because you just put ladies and gentlemen, you're using the women for what? For what purpose? To sell her body. If you want to sell mobile, you put a naked lady next to it. If you want to sell coke, you put a slim lady, naked, half naked, next to it. So that means if you drink the Coke, you're going to be as beautiful as that woman, as slim as that woman. But actually you're going to be fat, chubby, God knows what's going to happen to you, and ugly. So all of this is being misused. The women for us, they're human beings. They're not people or tools we use them to sell our goods with. They're not like that cheap. They're saying the women is half of the society. I say the women is not half of the society, it's all the society. The women is not half, it's all the society. The women they are our mothers, they're our sisters, our daughters. So the woman is going to produce the children. There's no woman, that's it. We'll have no birth, nothing. So we have to have a woman. And Hawa was the first created being after Adam alayhi salam. It was not like another male, it was what? Female. The other created being, female, straight away after the male. You think about it. طيب. So Sayyidati is no problem for very we said as Sayyida Aisha. Fatima, she says, أنا سيدة نساء العالمين إلا except for whom? Come on. Maryam bint Ali Imran. Maryam, and that is why Aisha, she was comparing herself, not just Fatima, to the women. She said, the Prophet of Allah, they came to me, and the Prophet of Allah, he died in my lap. Prophet of Allah had my salam, Mr. Salam, and Prophet of Allah, Jibreel used to come while I was underneath with the quilt with the Prophet of Allah. No other women had. She was boasting, except the one that she can't boast about is what? Maryam. Maryam bint Ali Imran, the mother of Isa alayhi salam. So Fatima says, I am the master of the women, of all the Ummah's women, except for Maryam bint Ali Imran, the mother of Isa alayhi salam. I wish the Christian they know about this, how we honor Maryam alayhi salam. We don't say Maryam, mother of God, hail mother, hail Mary, mother of God. We don't say that. We are giving her what she is, because if she's the mother of the God, I mean she's greater than God. The one who gives birth to God, in logic, he's more powerful than God. Okay, so we don't say that, and that's by the way, it's not all the Christian groups and sects they say that, dominions, but some of the Christians, like the Catholic, they say that is right or no? Are we Catholic here? Revert Catholic here? No. They say, Ahmed, who are you? Were you a Muslim before? Oh, so you come from a Muslim background. Where are you from?
A little bit.
But where are you from before?
I was
Catholic or what? Church of England?
Yeah, Christian.
You don't know anything then. The Catholic they are the ones who have been labelled by other Christian dominions to be Ahlul Bid'ah. They're Muqtadi'ah. Yeah, no, Bid'ah. They have innovations, the innovators. Ahlul Bid'ah. And the ones who are the orthodox are the ones who call them like the Salafis of their deen. The one goes to the origin. Do you understand me? That's what they say. So, for example, they call us Orthodox Muslims. That's for the Christian these are the Orthodox Muslims. I mean, they stick into the origin source. Right, coming back. So Sayyida will explain it. Now the Prophet said, وَلَا يَقُلْ أَحَدُكُمْ عَبْدِي وَأَمَتِي. Not to say as well, you عَبْدِي وَأَمَتِي. وَلْيَقُلْ فَتَاهِ. Don't say my slave. Don't say my female slave. But say what? Fataya, my boy. Fatati, my girl. Ghulami, my boy. Jariyati, my girl. So I'm going to add to that hadith as well. وَجَارِيَتِي. Another narration says, وَجَارِيَتِي. Let me just tell you the hadith from the Prophet ﷺ. It's in Silsila Sahiha 2041. كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مِّن بَنِي آدَمْ سَيِّد. Look at that. Every single soul produced by Adam alayhi is a Sayyid. Sayyid, master. فَالرَّجُلُ سَيِّدُ أَهْلَهِ. The man, he is the master of his family. وَالْمَرْأَةُ سَيِّدَةٌ فِي بَيْتِهَا. أو سَيِّدَةُ بَيْتَهَا. أو بيتها. And the woman, she is Sayyidatu بيتها. That is, she is the master woman of her house. So she's a Musayyida. And that's the sister Sahih Shaykh Al-Albani 2041. So the Prophet ﷺ, he had given the title Sayyida to the woman, but she is with her husband, as the husband is the master, and she's the Sayyid. Prophet of Allah, he said, take care of the women, فَإِنَّهُنَّ عَوَانٌ. Awan means captive, slave, war booty. But don't you ever think, sister, they're listening now, that means, oh, you are saying to our husband, go and beat us up because we're slaves and war booty. No, it doesn't mean that. It means because you are the one who looks after the house, and you are the one who does not go out like as much as the husband, because he goes out to go and provide for the house. So you're just like a woman who is between four walls most of the time. So because of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed his Prophet to make sure to instruct the men to fear Allah through those regarding this woman who's stranded between the four walls all the time. So it's to look after them, feed them, and give them the clothes. You feed yourself. You don't buy yourself chocolate and hide it in your car and you prepare over the chocolate. You buy a Kit Kat and buy a 6-sack for her. Huh? You buy a nice, the best chocolate for you, put it in your car and give her nothing. Okay? That's not right. إِنَّهُنَّ عَوَامٌ عِنْدَكُمْ. If each person knows his role, wallahi, there will be the best of houses. You'll have ups and downs. Even in the house of the Prophet, there will always ups and downs. But if you know to treat the downs, how to deal with the downs, alhamdulillah. Deal with them the Sharia wise. Otherwise, Prophet of Allah, sometimes he was upset from Aisha. She's done something. But there was what? Dialogue, how to treat that sort of issue. But these days, a little issue can trigger to what? To a divorce. Subhanallah, somebody sent me something. I wish I've got it here. If I've got it here, I would like to narrate it for you just to show you how naive some of the people are. This is a dialogue that took place between some people. Oh, it's gone. I deleted it. It's just triggered. It's a dialogue between husband and wife about something which does not exist. Okay? So for example, something that they will wish to go and build it, and then they started talking about what sort of kitchen. In the kitchen I wanted this and that, and no, the kitchen has to be here or something like this, and ended up divorce on something that doesn't exist, by the way. It doesn't exist. And that's how it is. Right. Father. By the way, our Shaykh Mathin also talks about the word mawlai, and also he says the wilaya. Wilaya, it could be a wilaya which is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the absolute wilaya. Absolute wilaya for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this wilaya either is general for Muslims and kafir, or specific to the believers. And then the second category is the wilaya which is not absolute, which is the limited one. And that wilaya, it could be to other Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we have used it in this hadith. You are mawlai, my king, you are mawlai. No problem. For verily, this is allowed. You could gain from this hadith as well, that how the Prophet ﷺ had gave you an alternative. Don't say this, but say that. Okay? Don't say Rabbi, say Sayyidi or Mawlai. Don't say Abdi wa Amati, but say what? Fataya, Fatati, Ghulami, Jariyati. So he gave you an alternative, and that's the best of education. It's not just to block to say this, but give them an alternative. And it shows you as well that Islam is a spacious religion. This is the spacious religion. Inni bu'ithtu bihanifiyatin samha. The spacious religion is that if you close a door, you have another door. You have an alternative. And by the way, every time there's a prohibition, don't do this and let you do this, it means it is not a must, I do it, but this is a permissibility. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَإِذَا حَلَلْتُمْ فَاصْطَادُوا. When you are in Hajj or Umrah and you make an ihram, you're not prohibited, you're prohibited to hunt. Okay? So this prohibition, don't hunt, but it says that, but if you are not in state of ihram, then what? Hunt. It doesn't mean, well, oh, I should go and hunt now after I finish my ihram. I should go and hunt. No, it means what? Permissible to hunt. It doesn't mean that I must hunt. You understand? Okay. After this, we'll go to the issues and continue to chapter 55. Go ahead.
Important issues. The first is the prohibition of saying my slave and my ama.
Now, who said it? Well, just a reminder, because I'm not going to explain anything. Everything explained it. Number 2.
And second, the slave should not say my lord, neither should it be said to him, feed your lord. And third, teaching the first to say instead of my lad, my lass and my boy.
And my girl, jariyati, as well. Add. Number 4.
And the fourth, teaching the second to alternatively say my master or my guardian.
Guardian's mawlai. Number 5.
And the fifth, drawing attention to point which is actualization of Tawheed even in use of expressions.
Very important. Tawheed has to be not just with the actions and the heart, but also in the words. Right, go to chapter 55, please.
Chapter 55. Whoever asks with Allah's name should not be refused.
This chapter title is actually linked to Kitaab At-Tawheed, that the person who has honor, respect and magnification to Allah the Almighty, and he exalts Allah Azza wa Jalla in his heart, if somebody came to him to ask him, by Allah, give me that, he will not hesitate to give it. Because for him, Allah, you've asked me by the one, I cannot refuse your request. Okay? Now, he's going to mention now the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar, and then after that the issues. We say first of all, the scholars regarding this issue is of 3 opinions. Opinion number 1, if somebody asks by Allah, you must fulfill it. Opinion number 2, if you ask by Allah, then it is recommended that you fulfill it. The third opinion is, which is the opinion of Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, which we are inclined to believe that it is the correct opinion. That is the opinion which says that we have to detail the matter. It could be a must, and it could be recommended, and it could be permissible. If somebody asks you by Allah Azza wa Jalla. So, if we talk about Shaykh al-Taymiyyah, which he says that if this person who asks you by Allah, he asked you a specific thing, and he came to a specific individual, then you must fulfill it. So he came to a specific person, the specific request, you have to fulfill it. By Allah, give me this. But if this person is a beggar, and he does not come to a specific person, he comes to lots of people, by Allah, by Allah, by Allah, give me, then it's not a must. It could be recommended, or it could be even permissible. And the third one, which is the permissible, is that a liar, you know he's a liar, who's always a liar. He's asking about Allah, he's a liar, I know he's a liar, I know he's a liar, because he always asks me about this. I ask about Allah and he's got it. I know he's a liar, then it's permissible for me to give him. So this is now the opinion of Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, which actually details that. So in the original category, we said scholars, they say you must. Some scholars say that it is disliked if you don't do it. It's recommended you have to do it. The third one, which is the Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, he gives the details depending upon the way that you request. And we say Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah is closer to the haqq. We want to say to you that it's a fourth category here, that you may not fulfill. Somebody asked you by Allah, if you ask you what? Haram. So if he said to you, by Allah, I ask you to, for example, fornicate. Ask you by Allah to let me fornicate. I can't fulfill that. That's haram. So, now, is it permissible for the person to ask another person by Allah? That depends as well. So, we're not talking about the response here, we're talking about what? The question. I'm not saying, by Allah, give me. For verily remember, al-yadul ulya kayawm al-yadul sufla. You're not supposed to say this always. Refer to Allah. Tawakkal ala Allah. Upon your trust, unless you are in desperate need. So you come to a person, by Allah, give me money. You know, the poor people, they don't even ask. We're not saying not to ask, but imagine this person keeps on asking. And if he keeps asking, he does not deserve, what's going to happen? On the day of resurrection, you're going to come with scratches on your face or on your chest. As the Prophet ﷺ said, مَا عَلَيْهِ مُزْعَةُ لَحْمٍ. Flesh is being taken. So you can recognize him. He's been asking, begging. Asking by Allah, and he doesn't deserve it. For very the companions at that time of the Prophet ﷺ, they would not ask anybody else to give them this. So if somebody, for example, he's got his stick fallen, or staff, he would not ask somebody else to go and pick it up, he will pick it up himself. And for verily, this is very good because the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Izhad bima inda nas yuhibbuka nas." Always be zahid, ascetic. From what is in the possession of the hands of the people will love you. So don't look at the possessions of the people. Brother, can you give me some of that food of yours? Brother, can you give me some of that sweet of yours? Brother, I'm telling you, keep saying this, people will start avoiding you. Oh my God, let me just go away from him. He's going to ask me something now. Always. And always, give the hint that, I want to, to be not self-sufficient, but I don't want to be being presented as a person who's, call it spongy? Spongy, that's the word. Spongy, not a spongy. He lives, not stingy, spongy. He lives on somebody's back. Not greedy, spongy. Greedy is different. Spongy could be he just liked it, you are, for example, having your fish and chips or whatever food, it just comes and he starts taking from it like that. And he doesn't, he is a person who is able to buy. So why don't you buy it? Okay? The person will not be able to eat, brother. But if you're going to deal like this, that person will try to buy his fish and chips later on away from you. Some people like that. So if somebody invited you, invite him back. Always give that feeling that you are capable. Do you understand? So, do you like it? Think about it. If you are 3-4 people, you go into always the time, for example, to get food. And you'll find that you 3 guys always pay the food and the 4th one is always make an excuse, say, take back and I'm going to pay. Maybe you'll tolerate once, twice, 3 times, and after that, when they go up, you're not going to call him. The 4th time you're not going to call him. Because you know that this person, and he's capable, he's not poor, he's capable. But he is a person who's like a spongy, has to live somebody else's. SubhanAllah. Some people, as soon as he comes to your house, what's in your fridge, brother? What a rude way to say, what's in your fridge? And he comes to your fridge. Once you come to his house, if you go to his fridge, I don't know, he presses a button and his fridge is empty. Everything disappears. That's the person you don't like to be with him. So, if you like the people, so izhad bima fi yadin nas. Actually, you find the Arabs, they've got this. This is an Arab, this is because of the karam of theirs. If you ask them to have food, you'll struggle to make them say yes. You'll struggle. Whereas I'm not belittling other communities, but if you ask others which are not being taught karam, brother come, yes, I will come, brother. Straight away. Okay, he'll ask you this time, but next time I'm going to ask you. So, you have to say, for example, maybe he's asking you because he's shy of you. So to make sure that he is correctly asking you, he's not really asking you because he feels shy. If he doesn't ask you, he feels as if, you understand me? So you have to have some sort of this thing. And also when they give for example, let's say for example they're going 4 people to give the money. Okay? To the how much is this? Don't just stay back and relax. No, that's what you find. I'm saying generally the Arabs, they will fight. I've seen one woman, she was been employed recently into one of the takeaways, and usually we fight. So the fight happened is actually we pushed the whole service till she was really scared. The president said, don't worry, this fight is every day. Every time these guys they come, they also who's going to be paid. Okay? But at the same time, if you are using as a person like this, who is you're trying to make sure that you pay this payment because you know they're going to another place where they're going to be paying going to be too much, so they were not going to ask you to participate, being cheeky. Do you understand that? Some people like that. They'll make sure they pay the little one, so the big one, that was you have paid the last time. So Allah knows what's in your heart. Allah knows what's in your heart. If you do like this, people would love to come with you. Would love to come with you and sit. But if you're companions, not like that. If somebody's that fall down, they will not ask anybody. He will do it himself. Jazakallah. Look, anybody of you who's in it who would like to drink from the pot the Prophet drank from? Yes? But I'm going to show you what happened at the time of the Prophet when he had made his marriage with Aisha. So, he's now trying to cuddle Aisha at the beginning. The woman there, still there. So he asked for milk. So, he drank from the milk. He gave her to drink. He drank from the milk after her. And he said to them, drink. Look at the response of those Arab women. They said, they don't have any, appetite for it. But actually what? Not just the appetite, they want to drink from the Prophet of Allah. But because this is this, they didn't say, yes, okay, give it to us. They said, no. And the Prophet said, لا تجمعنا جوعا وكذبا. Don't combine two things, which is hungriness and lying. Hungriness, you're hungry and you're lying, you said we don't have an appetite. What do you mean this is milk? So they started to drink from it and they used to follow where the spot where the Prophet drank from to take the barakah, the message of Allah. So in this, we say that the person is had فيما عند الناس be ascetic or what in the hands of the possession of the people will love you. And is that بما في عند Allah as also these things that Allah is giving you the luxury, don't use it so much, Allah would love you as well. Fine. We say that the person, he should not be asking unless it is a necessity. And that's what we say, the link between it and the chapter title. In Silsila Sahih of Shaykh Al-Albani, in the Hadith 255 of Shaykh Al-Albani Silsila, he says, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, أَلَا أُخْبِرُكُمْ بِخَيْرِ النَّاسِ مَنْزِلَةً. Shall I inform you of the best people in terms of rank-wise? That means, he's the best of the people on the day of resurrection, the best of the people in this dunya. He said, yes, Messenger of Allah, tell us. He said, رَجُلٌ مُمْسِكٌ بِرَأْسِ فَرَسِهِ. A person who is holding the tether of his horse, فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, in jihad, حَتَّى يَمُوتَ الْمُقْتَلِ, until he dies, or he will be killed as a martyr in the battle. Then he said, shall I tell you about the person who is next to him and he's below him? He said, yes, Messenger of Allah. He said, a man who had secluded himself into one of these valleys and he's praying and giving the zakah and he is avoiding the people. And this is in the time of the fitna, where the person is best place would be on top of the mountains with some sheep. Then he said, shall I tell you the worst of the people in terms of rank in the day of resurrection and also in the dunya? He said, yes, Messenger of Allah, tell us. He said, the one who asks by Allah, the Lord. So the one who asks by Allah and he will not give. So he's been asked by Allah. So the one who is asked by Allah and he did not give. So you've been asked by Allah, give me, and you did not give. And so in this hadith, we find two things. That is, the person, if he's been asked by Allah, you should give. According to the categories of what we mentioned before, if you remember, Shaykh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. And also, we have a prohibition in this hadith to ask by Allah something which is to do with the dunya. Always ask Allah, by Allah, something to do with not the dunya. And this is going to be the following chapter. لا يسأل وجه الله إلا الجنة. Not to ask in the face of Allah, that is in Allah. Except for Jannah, that is anything to do with the Akhirah. And that is linked to the following chapter. At-Tawheed ibn Abi Rabah in Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba, he said, that is, it is being disliked to ask by the face of Allah or by the Quran anything from the matters of the dunya. So the face of Allah means by Allah or by the Quran anything from the dunya matters. Also we find Silsila Sahih 2290. Prophet of Allah said, Mal'oon is cursed, man yas'alu biwajhillah, who asks by the face of Allah. Mal'oon, man yus'alu biwajhillah thumma mana'a sa'ilah. He is also cursed, the one who is being asked by the face of Allah, yet he prevented to give what is being asked. مَا لَمْ يَسْأَلْهُ هُجْرًا, unless he asked him something which is to boycott, something haram. So that is why Abu Burda ibn Abi Musa al-Ash'ari, he had used this as a proof against Yazid ibn al-Muhallab, that is the one who was being appointed to be in charge of Khurasan, and he wanted to make him an appointed to be in charge of some of those provinces in Khurasan. When he asked by the face of Allah to be pardoned, when he asked, even the hadith, it says he's cursed, the one who asked by the face of Allah. So he asked by the face of Allah, but it's to do with something which is the akhirah, because he doesn't want to be in charge of a province and later on he will be questioned by the Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's what emphasize what Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen has said, rahimahullah, that the person should not ask, it is disliked to ask by Allah or the face of Allah unless you have a need, a proper need. And that's our opinion, the opinion of our Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen, rahmatullahi alayhi. Go to the hadith, please.
Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma said, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whoever asks by Allah's name, give him. Whoever seeks protection by Allah's name, grant him. And whoever invites you, accept the invitation. Whoever does any good to you, pay him back. If you find not what to pay back with, supplicate for him until you can note that you have paid him back.
This hadith also insisted as Shaykh Al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi with further discussion of its sanad and its sahih in Silsila Sahih 254. The hadith says Abdullah ibn Umar, I believe that both of them, him and his father, the Prophet said, who asks you by Allah, then give him, and he who had sought refuge in Allah, then give him refuge. The hadith also in Silsila Sahih 253, where Ibn Abbas, he said, the Prophet of Allah said, he who sought refuge in Allah, then give him refuge, and he who asked by the face of Allah, then give him. Now, as we said, if you ask by Allah something that he needs to ask him, not just to ask all the time like that. So if he asked, so we said, the question itself should not be for anything, it should be for something which is, you are in total need of it. And he says here, give him. Give him, you should give him. And if you sought refuge in Allah, somebody said refuge in Allah, then give him refuge. For verily, Bintul Jun, our Jawn, she's a woman whom the Prophet of Allah got married to. And her name, Umaymah Bintul Nu'man ibn Sharahbil. Or her name is Asma Bintul Nu'man. Whether it is Umaymah or Asma, she came to the Prophet as soon as he got married to her, and she came to see the Prophet of Allah. She said, A'udhu billahi mink, I seek refuge in Allah from you. Not from you as a prophet, from you as a husband. So the Prophet of Allah said, لَقَدْ عُذْتِ بِمَعَادٍ لَقَدْ عُذْتِ بِمَعَادٍ. That is, you have sought refuge in somebody that you could seek refuge in. Or لَقَدْ عُذْتِ بِعَظِيمٍ, another narration. And that is, you seek refuge in somebody who's great, that is Allah the Almighty. So go, ilhaqi bi-ahlik, go to your family. It means you're divorced. So the Prophet of Allah did not consummate the marriage whatsoever, did not even touch her. And she went back to her house. So, a woman, she could refuse. The Prophet, you never said that she's a kafir, you didn't accept him as a husband. Okay? So, she went back to her family, has been divorced. So, this is what we gain from this. That if the person said to his wife, go back to your family, and he means it's divorce, it will count as what? As divorce. But if he said divorce, the explicit word that she's divorced, whether he's joking or he's not joking, the word, it will be implemented. Right. And then he says, he who da'akum, calls you, that means to an invitation, walima, then respond to it. If it's a walima, not walima of the urs, which is the marriage, then the scholar, they said, most of the scholars, they said, it is recommended, it is not compulsory. If you ask me for food in a restaurant or a takeaway, whatever, then it is recommended for me to fulfill it, especially if he wants you to do that and he wants you to honor him. Or he just told you come to eat in the house of somebody, and you have, you could really, I would say, please that brother feelings, because he wants you to come, especially if you are a student of knowledge and he wants you to come to your house, and you want to please him, you haven't got anything, time, or you've got nothing sort of, for example, important to do, it's better to fulfill that. But it's not a must. The must is only for the wedding. For verily the Prophet of Allah, he said, شَرُّ الطَّعَامِ طَعَامُ the most evil food is the food of the walima of the marriage. يُدْعَى إِلَيْهَا, that is the one which only the people who do not want it, which are rich, be called to it, and the one who is poor is supposed to be called to it, they are not being called. And then he said, and he who does not respond to that walima, then he is disobeying Abu al-Qasim, he's disobeying Allah and His Messenger. فَقَدْ عَصَى اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. So if somebody called you to a walima, you have to go, unless one of these conditions is not there. Condition number one, that the person who's calling you is an elevator. Person who should not boycott him, then we do not really fulfill his call. A person who's calling you and there is something there which is haram, is music, is disaster mixing. That's another word as well to add to the sixth word. So we call it what? Free mixing. That's not a good word. What? Disaster mixing. It's a better word. Please can you just collect the word that we change? Disaster mixing. Not free mixing. Free means what? That means you are a slave as well. If you mix. If you don't mix. So we don't call it disaster mixing. Danger mixing, you could call it. Right. Another as well. So if the person is calling you to something which is haram, okay, then you should not go unless you're able to change the haram. Then it's better to go there. So if you think that you could stop the music, could stop the disaster mixing, could stop all of that, then you should go. You should go. You must go. And also, that the person who's calling you is a Muslim. So if it is a wedding for a non-Muslim, you don't have to fulfill it. And usually the non-Muslim's wedding, not to say the wedding, because the Muslim, most of it is haram. So the non-Muslim wedding is going to be what? Duf. Right? Imagine a duf in the non-Muslim wedding. And they're going to say Prophet and Allah, they're not going to say that. Right. And also, the person who is inviting you, he is not indulgent to haram. So if he's indulgent to haram and most of his work is haram, don't go there. I'm not saying haram, what is going to feed you haram. If it's khamr and all of that, swine, all of this, you don't go there, of course. But I'm talking about he's giving you halal food, but earned and bought by haram money. The more haram it is, the more prohibition for you not to go there. Should not go. Because it's haram. And it's not right. And we are doing it for the sake of teaching the person. Because when we don't go there, why is not coming there? Because you've got haram into you. Now, is it haram what I'm eating if I've eaten with that person who's earning his haram? Do you understand what I'm saying? So let's say that his money is out of riba. He's feeding me. Is that food is giving me haram? No, it is not haram. So there's two opinions. It says haram, it's not haram. Haram for him, but it's not haram for me. The reason behind this, if he's going to say it's haram, then if this person is going to come to you to buy from your shop, you're going to ask him, brother, is your money halal 100%? It's not halal, I can't take from you. Nobody is going to sell or buy. Nobody. Brother, you just make sure that your money is halal before you purchase from my mobile, for example. On the internet and eBay, I'll have to have halal money earning unless you can't do that. So once the money comes out of the person who's doing haram from his hand, it becomes halal. It has different rule. So once I give you, let's say my money, I earn it haram. I want to buy the mobile from you. So once I give you the money, that money does not carry haram to it. That is why if, for example, the father died and he made his money from riba, when it goes to the inheritors, it does not carry the haram with it. It had transferred, so the haram, yes, we ask the children to be good to their fathers and give it away, but it's not a must because it's not haram. Unless the money in itself is haram, is being stolen, confiscated, the money itself, not being earned by haram way. Different. Earning through haram, you have to earn it by haram, or you stole it, so it itself is haram. So if you stole it, I can't eat. And the proof for this as well, when the Prophet ﷺ, he presented some barbecue meat from the food. So the Prophet was about to eat it. Aisha, she said, Messenger of Allah, this is from Sadaqah. He said, from whom Sadaqah? He said, Sadaqah onto Barira, which is a slave for Aisha. He said, well, it's a Sadaqah for Barira, a gift to us, so we're allowed to eat from it. So that Sadaqah was onto Barira. It does not carry the Sadaqah onto the Prophet to Aisha. So that is as well a proof for that. Also, that you're fulfilling the call is not going to be entailing that you're going to miss something which is wajib upon you. Okay? So if it is that, then haram to fulfill it. Also, that when you fulfill such a call, it's not going to be entailing that you're going to be as well yourself harmed. Okay? You're going to be harmed for that. Like for example, somebody gave me an invitation, like let's say, I'm inviting your brother for a wedding. Inshallah, so I have to fulfill it, but it's in India. But it's going to cost me, God knows how much is the ticket. So to India to go, to China, I can't go. Jazakallah khairan. So please, can you excuse me from that da'wah? And you can ask anybody who's invited you to such a thing to give you excuse. If he gave you excuse, no problem. He said, I let you off. Because this is the right of the person, it's not the right of Allah. The right of this person. So you let me off, let me off the hook, please, brother. Okay? So when you invite somebody, you know that he's really far away, please bear in mind, that his person, you have to give him, it's up to you, because he might come to eat £5 food of yours, he's going to spend about £55 just to come to you. Do you understand me? So bear in mind that issue as well. So be considerate, that's what I say. طيب. Sheikh Al-Ibn talks about sending, wedding cards. Is a wedding card is considered to be an invitation? In terms of discussing whether it's an invitation or not, if it's been sent by a particular name, the name is on it, that's an invitation. But we can discuss the root of the matter. Is it right or wrong to send invitation by cards? I mean, if you consider that to be is not from the Muslim way of doing it, it's actually from the kuffar, this is following the trend. This is imitation of the non-Muslims. The Muslims, they don't know these things. And not to say haram which is involved in it now these days, they're boasting about how beautiful is that invitation card. It costs so much money. It became now like a book. You're receiving a book. Never mind a book, proper book. With a volume like this, and you open it, there's a book. And it's all of it just something you put, just a name, and that's it. With gold. It's all of it, rubbish boasting. This is, I would say, called a social disease. Yeah, scrolls in a letter like that. Oh, anyway, you think it's a book. It's all of it. And how much cost? Each one? £5. Where's the £5 going to go? The bin. You're going to read it and put it in the bin. Throw another. You're going to put it on a souvenir in the bin. You're going to put souvenir. You're going to put it in the wall. You're going to put it in the bin. £5 in the bin like this. Haram. Somebody told me it's haram. No, brother, I printed it in Pakistan. It cost me £2. Yeah, £2 halal. £5 haram. He printed it for £2 Pakistan because Pakistan is really, And then the hotel that we went to, just to step into the hotel cost £500. It's to start with. And how much is the food? So, how much is the wedding costing you? Wallahi, he said to me 45,000. Wallahi, he said to me 45,000. 45,000. You see, brother, the meal, he hired the Ma'idah, something called Ma'idah. Ma'idah, they brought the food, and wallahi, the next door kebab shop, you should take away better food than these food they're giving us. It's just the etiquettes of the starters, And they made us to starve. After the starters, they give us the food. 45 grand. No wonder why that when he sends you a card, he expects you in that envelope to put what? Money. Yes. Because he says that, please, no gift accepted. No?
No box to give.
No box gifts. This is shame, you know. No, but that means we want money. That's what it means, actually. Yeah, what does it mean? No box gift, that means because we don't want to end up with that. So many, because a gift, you're going to give me a gift, whether you like it or not, that's what it means. But we don't want to give, because all of you buy me, for example, food processor, all of you. You're going to end up with 40 food, for example. That's what they said, give us cash, we will know what we do buy. Wallahi, wallah, I'm talking in my country, came social disease, that the person, when he receives a wedding card, wallahi, some of the parents, it's like the heart shock. He doesn't know what to do. He has to pretend that he's not in the country. Because if he goes there empty-handed, it's finished. That card of wedding, it means, your money please. That's what it means. And it's a debt. They write it down. Muhammad, he paid £50. Throw that outside. Yeah, Pakistani Jordan, you know it as well. Not just Pakistani. £50. So I gave you £50, Irfan. So if I get myself married, or my son, okay, and I send you the invitation card, you don't turn up, I will call you. Irfan, where's my £50? That's what happens, actually. Wallah, I've got to give us a same thing. Disease. Same. He'll phone you. Where's my £50? I feel pity for the person who keeps giving. He doesn't have got sons, you know, to take back. I feel pity for that person. And they write, you know, somebody who's the one who's receiving the shake of the hand, and there's somebody what? Registered. True or not? Somebody in the book. Well, that's a disease here. I had witnessed married with Sheikh Al-Albani. I witnessed married with the students of Sheikh Al-Albani. I witnessed married. So one of the persons called Azad Khalad, the one who gave the worship of Sheikh Al-Albani, rahmatullah. He stood up and he was a student of knowledge, he was a poor person. So he said, well, verily, we want to help this person. Everybody, pledge it. So they raised up a box, who said, give him money. Nobody knows who gave and who doesn't give. Just put the books. Not writing. He gave. Whatever he's got. Wallah, he had, mashallah, lots of money, barakah. He gave. And that's it. You don't want to give something. That's it. So he gave to help the student knowledge. Because the Prophet of Allah, when he had made his marriage onto Zainab, radiallahu anha, what did the companions do? Some people brought the ghee, some people brought the dates, some people brought the... So they had put, the Prophet did not even, did anything, no, nothing, no sheep, nothing. Just some, people brought it. And they put it on the mat, you know, all started eating. That's the wedding actually. But these days, Allah, as I said, it's a social disease. And that is why it is sharrul way. The Prophet said, the worst of the meal is the meal of the what? The marriage. Why? Because only the person who doesn't want to eat it, he will be invited. The rich man. And the one who's poor, they will never invite him. They don't want him. They want the rich man who pays, or he's got honor with him, so he brings the honor with him. And I'll tell you what, these weddings, I don't go to them. Because I can't change what I could do anything, so I'll leave. By this, come to the issues, please. The last bit of the hadith says, he who does you a good deed, work, then reward him. Yes, we reward him because we will encourage other people to make good deeds. So if I give you a good deed, you should reward me. If you can't have to reward back, if I give you a gift, you don't give it back, say Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. And I want to keep my edge onto you, I'll say to what? Well, yeah. So you'll Jazakallah khair in reply, but my gift still. And that is why Aisha, whenever she would say, send something to other people, she will tell her servant, go and see what they say to you. Whatever they say, reply. Barakallahu lak wa feek. So that she will be, my gift will be what? The upper. Otherwise he will give the same reward as you. He said, wa iyak, khalas, I repaid it. But now, when I said, wa iyak, I gave you jazakallahu khairan back, and still my gift is on the top. Wa iyak. So when the person goes to the market, remember what he said? We start the salam. Remember he said to his slave, what do you do? You go to the market. From the morning you don't do anything. He said, you, person who doesn't understand anything, just for the salam. You call him, you don't understand anything. The one with the big ears. Don't understand. We call it salam. So we say, Assalamu alaikum. He said, wa alaikum assalam. How much did I gain now? Yeah, so, Assalamu alaikum. That's how many hasana? 10. And replied? 10. 20. Because I made him to reply. You said alaikum assalam, you got your 10, but I got 20 because I need you to what? Reply. SubhanAllah. That's a profitable business with the Almighty Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And by the way, when you send back, when you give back as well, you feel it as well. You feel honor. So you give somebody a gift, you give him a gift back, that person will feel that I have been honored. But listen, brothers, at the same time here, don't cut the neck of your friend. Start giving him gifts that you feel like he's being humiliated. Do you understand me? So many gifts as well to the brother, and he can't give back. He feels sometimes those gifts are a sign of humiliation. So that's it. لا تقطعوا عنق صاحبكم. Prophet said, do not cut the neck of your relative, your friend. If you give him so many things that he can't return back, he feels what? I remember a person came to me because he married to a sister whom her father is rich. He's complaining that her father is what? He gave them a car, he gave them an oven. He felt like he's starving. So many gifts, he can't pay back anything. So you have to as well to understand. And sometimes the gift is not the actual price of it. It's actually the meaning of it. If you went to Saudi Arabia and you thought of me, for example, you brought me siwak, how much cost siwak? What real? You brought me that siwak as a present really cost thousands of riyals. So it's the hadiyah is the meaning of it. It's not just to do with the cost of it. If I went to a country and I brought you something that you can't get in this country, it's cheap. You'd be so happy with it. So happy, even it's cheap. Jazakallahu khair. Gifts, very different. Somebody asked me for something because he can't get it from this country. When I brought it, it cost me, I brought him about 4 or 5, it cost me maybe £2.50, £3. This person is still making me falafel sandwich until today because of that £4. Because you can't get them in this country. So, subhanAllah. But stop here, inshallah. The issues, quickly.
First, giving protection to whoever asks for protection by Allah's name. The second, giving whoever asks by Allah's name. The third, accepting invitation. Fourth, reciprocating an act of kindness extended. And the fifth, supplication. Supplication forms a means of paying back for those who are unable to give back. And the sixth is saying until you can note that you have paid them back.
Jazakallah. Any questions, please? What we've heard. Fadl. Yes, one goes here. Get it.
Sheikh, if someone asks you by Allah, and you know if you fulfill that request, and you know if you fulfill that request,
You look ill. You look really ill. You okay? Exactly. By the way, we didn't open the door today. The door was shut all the way around.
Thank you very much.
You have to say, Uncle, today we did not open the door at all.
Thank you very much.
You know why, Uncle?
No,
Because it's cold.
if I can stay here, I will stay here.
Yeah, but it's cold, Uncle. It's cold from the beginning. And I said to Dr. Saeed, it's not really warm today. He said because the temperature outside is really cold, it couldn't really compensate the heat for this. For me, it's very good, Uncle. This is the best, wallahi, class I've ever given tonight. I did not ask for the door to be opened. Yes, you have to ask the first question.
If I can't leave, can I do
Now,
it?
can you ask your questions so you could, if you want to leave, you leave.
Okay. Can I ask two questions off
You could ask 5 questions.
off topic?
2 off topic and 3 off topic, it doesn't matter. Anything that you want. Yeah.
Surah Yusuf,
No.
chapter 12,
No. Surah Yusuf, Surah chapter 12. Yes.
verse 106.
Yes.
So the majority of the believers are Muslims.
If you are saying?
The majority of the believers
Yeah.
are Muslims. You have to understand.
No, the ayah says, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُم بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. Meaning that none of them would believe except that most of them are mushrik. That's the ayah. None of them would believe except they are mushrik. That means the person when he believes, the mushrik cannot be a mushrik unless he has a believer. How can he be mushrik? Until he what? Believes. Because if he does not believe, he's not a mushrik, he's an atheist. So he has to believe in something and then he will commit shirk. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُم بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. Does that solve the question, inshallah?
Maybe I didn't hear it properly because how to hear it, because I heard most of the believers are Muslims.
Okay, let me just read you the ayah, uncle, and translate it for you from the translation of the Quran itself. Okay? Right, the ayah that you're quoting is as follows. Right. It's ayah 106. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُم بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ, which is the one I quoted. I'm going to put now the translation for in English. It says here, and most of them believe not in Allah except that they attribute partners unto Him. They are mushrikun, polytheists. Do you understand, uncle? So this is the ayah. So this talks about 2 things. Number 1, that the person cannot be a mushrik unless he's a believer. He has to believe, and then he becomes mushrik.
Yes.
Number 2, that this talks about those people at the time of Prophet ﷺ, Muhammad, that they are making belief and at the same time they're making shirk. And that was also talking to the khitab to this ummah. You find people saying, I'm a Muslim, yet he goes to the graves and asks for help and commits shirk. And asks for the help of such and such wali. So they have committed shirk while they are believers. So, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُم بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. That's what it means. And that is why also the Prophet ﷺ, he said that on the day of resurrection, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to Adam, أَخْرِجْ بَعْثَنُّ, bring out the descendants of yours who's going to be destined to the hellfire. He says, oh Lord, how many? He said, from every 1,999. So, from the descendants of Adam, 1 person goes to monotheism, Jannah, and 999 goes to where? Hellfire. And that's what the Prophet said, that's when the person's hair will go grey. He said, Messenger of Allah, they're scared. 999 the hellfire, and 1 in Jannah. He said, don't worry. When there is Ya'juj and Ma'juj in any creation, it will make them too many. 9999 from where? Ya'juj and Ma'juj, and 1 from you. Alhamdulillah. So, who are more, the people of Jannah or the people of Hellfire, uncle? The people of Hellfire. People of Jannah is nothing compared to the people of Hellfire. Always the people who are Ahlul Batil, much, much more than Ahlul Haqq. Ahlul Haqq, always the few people in any era or any prophethood is always the few ones are the believers and the majority are the disbelievers. When the Prophet ﷺ saw his vision, that a prophet, he was followed by a few, up to 10 people. Prophet followed by 2 people. Prophet followed by no one. Nobody believed in him. Okay? So, uncle, the people who are mushrikun are too many compared to the believers. And the Prophet ﷺ said at the end of the time, as well, Ummah Muhammad, the same thing. That is, قَالَ لَا تَقُومُ السَّاعَةُ حَتَّى, that will not take place until تَضْطَرِبَ أَلْيَاتُ نِسَاء دَوْسْ حَوْلَ ذِي الْخَلَصَ, that the backside of the women who belong to the tribe of the Yemeni Daws, tribe of Yemen, called Daws. Those women, their backside will start shaking around a god called Dhul Khalasa, an idol, a statue. And most of the people at the time of the day of resurrection, they're going to be kuffar. لا تقوم الساعة إلا على شرار الخلق. The hour will not take place until it's going to be only evil people around. Evil people includes kuffar, mushrikun, wicked, wretched people, no belief in their hearts. No. Inshallah, hopefully that made you understand that. Second question, sorry.
He said that if you follow your whims and desires, you are actually committing a kind of straight shirk.
If you follow your whims and desire, you are committing sort of shirk. Yes, it will, in general, uncle, the ma'asiyah, the sin, regardless how big or small it is a type of shirk. Because you have made shirk in the sense of that you have made your whims and desire something that you are following beside Allah Azza wa Jal. Even though that shirk is below the minor shirk. It is not shirk asghar, but it's a type of shirk. But it's not considered to be shirk akbar or shirk asghar. It's actually one of those sins, but it's a type of shirk, as in you made the whims and desire something that you have given priority to follow onto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, is that okay?
So we must ask forgiveness.
Of course you ask forgiveness, but it's not actually a person who follows his whims and desire. If he did, for example, sins which are small, they're called small sins. It's under the will of Allah. On the day of resurrection, maybe he will forgive him if he did not repent. Maybe he will forgive him from the first instance. Or maybe he will not forgive him and he will be punished for those sins, but he will go eventually to Jannah, inshallah. No. And I would say he will go to Jannah, not inshallah, definitely. Because Allah's pardoning. No. Yes, the uncle, I'll just give you the go ahead because it's cold here. نعم تفضل يا عرفان. Shall I do this? Apply the same thing for the sake of the stick? Apply it to my children? That means if I need something, I don't ask my children to fetch it for me. For verily, the father and the son relationship is different from the persons with another person's relationship. Because your father, you are a master, and your son is a slave. And the son is being commanded by the Almighty to fulfill his father's command straight away without any hesitation. Yesterday, I was actually talking about the rights of the parents and their children. And I've given about 26 facts regarding that issue. So, it's a different relationship. It's not really safe to say that it's better for me to depend upon myself and not to ask my son. No. Sometimes it's better for you to ask the son and to teach him to be disciplined to you. Okay? So, there's no such thing that the person we ask his son, he is making himself to be the lower hand. It's not nothing to do with this relationship. It's a relationship between like a master and a slave. So the master also is a slave. Do this and do that. And it is even better than the slave. This is a slave who should love you even that you're asking him for something which is maybe he dislikes. And we said a number of times that the ta'ah, the being righteous and dutiful to your parents, and birr, is not to fulfill the command of your father or your mother in something that you like to do. But actually the birr is to fulfill the command of your father and your mother in something which you don't like to do. That's the birr. But you do them for the sake of Allah. For the sake of pleasing Allah, I want to please my parents, even though I don't like to do it. طيب. Now, any other question? Fadal. Somebody is giving you some orders. What is he, a boss or what?
Yes.
The boss, he should give you orders. Then the company has to give you orders. Do this and write this and write that.
It's not conforming to this.
Well, you've been paid money for that, isn't it? You've been paid money for that. So I'm an organizer. So this is my job, to make you do this and do that and watch upon you. It's no problem. So I will tell you that the best of the person's deeds is the one that he always, when Allah gives you something, you should really want to be perfecting that deed. You should do that. So I'm an organizer and I'm a boss. How can I command you? I have to command you to do this and do that. And that's you get a pay for that. And you'll be giving a pay rise for that. So I'm organizing, there's no problem. It's nothing to do with this. It's to do with what you're asking for a favor from somebody. I'm not asking you for a favor. You're taking money for that. Okay, so I'm giving you the money back. Even if you are volunteering, let's say the volunteers and you've been put as to be the organizing. So you're volunteering, just saying that you are volunteering, you'll be paid back because you said you're volunteering. That means you take a reward from what? From Allah. Because you volunteer. So you put me now in charge, and I put the box there, put the box here, lift up the box, this box. If you don't have an organizer, you're going to be chaos. You're going to be piling up in one corner, leaving the whole place empty. Now, further.
So this has gone back to our countries as well, calling the leaders like Your Excellency and Your Honor and Your Majesty, these type of words. What are the rulings on this?
Yeah, there's so many. Huh? You've said so many words. So each word has got its own credentials and own as well weight. So we talked about, if you remember, Qadi al-Qudaa, Malik al-Amlak. Remember? Shahin Shah. We talked about that before. And we said, if you said Qadi al-Qudaa for such and such area, no problem. But the word Malik al-Amlak, King of the Kings, is not allowed, regardless of what you say, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Qadi al-Qudaa, the judge of the judges, Sultan al-Salatin, if you said, for example, that this is the area of such and such, no problem. Qadi al-Qudaa, Mamlaka al-Arabi Saudi, judge of the judges. But we said it's better to go away from these words. It's better. Now coming back to the words of majesty. For verily, can a person give majesty? Majesty means what? Great. But if this word in English is only being said to the Almighty, it should not be used. Because I don't know the usage of majesty in English, but I know Al-Mu'azzam or Al-Azim. We have, for example, we have Hercules, the great, is in the book. Ila Herakl, Azim al-Rum, Proselyte to Hercules, the great man of Rome. In the book, in the letter of his. So no problem. Al-Azim is a big, great man. But if you understood from the word majesty is exaltness of Allah, you should not use that word. Lord, I don't like the word House of Lords. But it means Lord here, the Lord of the land. The Lord of the land, Lord of the... okay? But if it is to do with the Lord, that the title being even purchased by some people, they purchase it. They buy it. And if you call him such and such, no, I'm not Lord, I'm Lord now, that's it. But I'll tell you what, some of those called Lords, they have said something. Jazakumullahu khair. One of them, can't remember his name, the Lord something, that he said regarding the SHRE, whatever it's going to be called, sex education, which is going to be maybe imposed in 2019, depending upon the consultation, which is going to be, deadline is about 10th of February, I think, for you to participate in as well, as for you as well, to participate and send what you think. For verily, if it becomes now, he said, this is a government trying to take the parental control from their parents. And that's the right word. Where do we draw the line? So this Lord of this country, I said this whole country, no problem, Lord of this country, that means not Lord of other countries, it's not God. Lord in this country, halal, this word. But the Lord in itself, as it being used, like for Isa, we said no, because they say AD, what is that? Anno Domini, the Lord of the year of the Lord. He says 73 was a God. So that's why we don't believe in AD. Could call it CE. What's that CE? The date, Christian era. Okay, so the 2019 Christian era. That's a word. That word as well. That word. Not AD. What? CE. Not BC or AD. Wait. CE. Christian era. It's a good word. And even Sheikh Al-Bani said, Tariq al-Nasrani, he says. So the dating of the Christians. So Christian hero. طيب. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك الله خير.